Okay, Shalom Ubracha. We are continuing with where we left off. Likutey Moharan, lesson 24, paragraph 6, mamash toward the end. Just before we go on, an amazing insight in Parshat Behaalotkha. The nuns that are reversed. There's so many deis on how it's reversed. There's one that the standard dea today is that the nun, just explain what we're talking about so people know. In Parshat Behaalotkha, Yavai bin Aaron, Vayomer Moshe. Before that little parsha, there's a nun that's flipped backwards, and right after it, right after that, it's like 60 something letters or words. There's another nun. Okay, so now there's two opinions how the nuns are flipped. Standard today in all Sifrei Torah is that as it is, you flip it. There's some doubt you flip it and also turn it upside down, so it's standing on the top. The nun is standing on the top of the head and also flipped over. But the point is to say that the nun is going backwards. Why? So you hear, there's a few explanations. There's Balatorim that brings one explanation that the nun is 50, and the real place of this parsha is supposed to be in Parshat Bamidbar, 50, what's called small parshiot. You have in each parsha smaller parshiot, stumot, ptuchot, so 50 before. Ben Ishchai says even better. Ben Ishchai in his book, Ben Yada, is that we don't take into consideration the stumot, only the ptuchot. So if that's the case, there's 16 parshiot ptuchot from where it's supposed to be Bamidbar by the Degalim. We're talking about the Masab, the Degalim, the movements of the tribes and the flags in the desert. That's where this parsha should be. Okay. Just have to say that I have a mazel tov my family. You know the mazel tov already? There's a bachor who used to come here, got engaged to my niece. So it's a small world. Small world, Baruch Hashem. All right. A lot of mazel tovs. Okay. Fine. So now Ben Ishchai says like this. Nun in Mispar Katan. What's Mispar Katan? Sorry, there's a few explanations of Mispar Katan. You take the alphabet, right? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Yud. So Yud is 10. What's 11? Chaf. What's 12? Lenger Chaf. Chaf Sofit. Okay. After that, you have Lamed, Mem regular, Mem Sofit. Nun is 16. Okay. So the Nun, if you take 16 parshot ptuchot, the Ben Ishchai says ptuchot, because he says we don't count the stumot, ptuchot, so you have the proper place of this parsha. So the question asked, so why, Rashi explains, why is this parsha Vahi bin Aaron Vayomer Moshe, which means, and it was when the Aaron, the ark would travel, so Moshe would say, Kuma Hashem be'afut soivecha ve'menusu mesanecha mipanecha, rise Hashem, wipe out your enemies, right? Uvnucho Yomar, and then when they had settled, Moshe Rabbeinu had to say. So Rashi says that it comes to teach you that the moving of the ark in the desert was with Hashem by the indication of the clouds, Moshe Rabbeinu having to say something, and the trumpets. You need three. Rashi brings that down, okay? But the pasuk says, Moshe, it's to wipe out the enemies. So now the question is, if this is not the place of the parsha, as indicated by the nuns which are switched, so why is it here? Why is it in Parshat Behaalotkha? So Rashi brings down one of the two opinions in the Gemara. The Gemara says two things. In Masechet Shabbat, page Kuf Tet Vav, Kuf Tet Zayin, so it's page 115, 116. The first thing was what Rashi says, Lahavdil Bein Puranut, the Puranut, to separate between suffering or something bad, damaging, and more bad something coming. What are the two bad things? The first bad thing is what's written right before Vayi bin Aaron. What's written right before Vayi bin Aaron? The first traveling of the Yidden right after Har Sinai, right after Kabbalat Torah on Har Sinai, which took a year minus 10 days, right? Rashi says there, on Kaf Iyar, the following year, they came there, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and they received the Torah on Vav Sivan, and then there was the tablets breaking on Yud Zayin B'Tammuz. Okay, fine, but until they built the Mishkan and everything, they spent almost a year by Har Sinai until they finally first moved from there. So what's wrong with that? So the wording of the Psukim, the Gemara deduces that they left fast. The Jews were saying, okay, enough already, enough Torah. Let's get a move on. Let's get there. We have to get there, Eretz Yisrael. So enough already. They're like satisfied, too much Torah we're learning, and we want to get a move on it. So it says, what does Rashi say? Like a child running from Cheder. right? Like a child who's so excited to leave Cheder. Okay, he hears the bell ring. Okay, he's the first one out. So they ran out. They were so quick to leave. That was considered a Puranut. Why was that considered a Puranut? Because that's what led to what's right after Parshat Behaalotkha. There's two dangerous things there. They were complaining. They were complaining, right? They were complaining about, oh, we're traveling so long and we have no food and we're just tired. And then they were burnt. The snake, whatever, they were killed. Asaf Suf also, they were complaining about the manna. Oh, we have manna in the morning, manna in the evening, manna. Everybody does manna. We need meat. We remember the meat that we had in Egypt and the watermelons, abatichim, watermelons, fish, right? They started complaining. So Hashem sent them slav, quail. You want meat? No problem. The meat will come out of your nose until you die or whatever. Zara, Zoro, Zara. Okay? So that's the second Puranut. And the understanding is that the first one led to the second one. So Vayibin Aaron is meant to make a type of a break so that it's not as destructive as it is. We have to explain that. This is the first thing the Gemara says. The second thing the Gemara says is Rabbeinu HaKadosh, as Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, says, nah, chas v'shalom to say that. What's the real thing? Is that Vayibin Aaron is such a powerful little section. It's a sefer in itself. And by doing so, it splits Bamidbar to 3 books. That means in total, there's not 5 chumashim. There's Chatzva Amudei Hashiva. There's 7 chumashim. You have Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, fine. Bamidbar, first part until Vayibin Aaron. Bamidbar, second part, Vayibin Aaron. Bamidbar, third part from the Parsha of the complainers and Asaf Suf and everything until the end of Bamidbar, and Dvarim, 7 books. To say that it's such a holy Parsha, Vayibin Aaron, it's a sefer in itself, okay? So now the Maharsha, he's the one who says something that helps a lot on what we want to say. The Maharsha says, according to both explanations of the Gemara, the Nun fits in perfectly. Why the letter Nun? Okay, so you want to make a break that, according to the first opinion, this Parsha is not to be here, it's a separate from Puranut to Paranut. Okay, why Nun? And you tell me the Nun is, the Gematria of Nun is 50, or like the Ben Ish Chai brings it 16 in small numbering, and it's supposed to be 16 or 50 Parshiyot beforehand. Okay, so that's it. That's why the letter Nun. So he says the Maharsha like this. For this reason, explanation, the letter Nun is not a good letter. Why is the letter Nun not a good letter? It's not an Ashrei. Where's the Nun and Ashrei hidden? Somech Hashem lechol hanoflin. Right? The Gemara teaches there's no Nun because Nun means nefila, to fall. So it's hinted in Samech, in Ashrei. You look in Ashrei, there's not 22 psukim, or there really is 20 because Banach, whatever. But that's not it. They added Banach. So there's not 22 psukim, there's 21. Because Nun is not there. Why is Nun not there? Because Nun symbolizes fall, a downfall. So the Maharsha says, on that explanation, that it's to separate suffering, the Nun is used to indicate that because it's a nefila. The Jews fell. They didn't want to learn Torah. They didn't have kelim. So the result of not having kelim is they started complaining about the manna. They started complaining they're in the desert. It's tired. We're drained. And then they started complaining because of that. So the come separate shouldn't be full destruction. What does it mean when Rashi is saying, when the Gemara says, to separate from suffering to suffering? What is it coming to separate? We already see the damage caused. It's to show you that more damage could have been done were it not for the Vayibin Aaron. The Torah inserts Vayibin Aaron to show you that there was something protecting the Yidden from being destroyed totally. They should have been destroyed totally based on Svara and Higayon of running away from learning Torah, not having the power to stand up in the tests that were afterwards, so it should be destroyed totally. Vayibin Aaron protects them. We'll go into that soon, okay? So that's the Maharsha's first explanation of the Nun. Second explanation of the Gemara, that no, it's coming to show that there's 7 books of the Chumash, and this is a holy book. What's so special about Vayibin Aaron? It talks about the Aron. What's in the Aron? In this Aron? Shivrei Luchot, the broken tablets. Broken tablets were on a higher level than the second tablets. The broken tablets were from the 50th level, Shar Nun of Kedusha. So on that, the Maharsha says the Nun is used to indicate Shar Chamishim, the 50th level of Kedusha, which is what, by the way? What is another term for the 50th level? Keter. Shavuot. Shavuot is the 50th day. We count Sfat Omer up to multiples of 7. 7 times 7 to get to 49. 7 in the Kabbalah is the lower 7 sirot, right? To show you again, we're going to open the map, the BRI map. Here we go, right? So I have here the lower 7 sirot, right? Chesed 1, 2, 3. Chesed Gvur Tiferet Netzach Hod Yesod Malchut. So Sfat Omer and our interaction in the world is this. Okay, after these, we merit the Keter. We jump because Chochmah, Bina, Da, they're all connected into Keter. Keter is the skull containing Chochmah, Bina, Da. They're inside. So it's like 7 and this 1, which is really the upper 3. Keter is like all 3. So in Shavuot, we call that we reached the 50th level. We reached the Keter, which has in it Chochmah, Bina, Da. Okay, so it's like 7 plus 1. Got it? So the 50th gate is like a Nun. Fine. So now connected to our lesson 24, what's happening here? The Nun backwards is 2 things, according to the Maharsha. It's the 50th gate, and it's also not good. It's a nefila. Because what did we say? Or we went into this a little bit. When we were going to get, we didn't touch it in the lesson, but we're going to go into it big time from paragraph 7 of this lesson. The attitude of the Keter is to bounce a person backwards. You want to tap into the Keter, which is the key for the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light, which in other words is to reach your potential, to reach the next level in your life that you have to reach. You want to connect to that level, you have to face the Keter first. And what does the Keter do to a person? It bounces you back. So the Nun is reverted to show that the Yidden are being bounced backwards. That's their test. In the Midbar, they failed the test. Not everybody. The Ben Ish Chai says, who didn't fail the test? Who's an example? Someone who's the son of Nun. Who's the son of Nun? Yeshua bin Nun. The Ben Ish Chai says, unbelievable. That's why the letter Nun is there, to show you there were those who were solid examples that they don't budge from Moshe Rabbeinu. To explain, from this week's Parsha, Behaalotkha, until Ben HaMitzarim, every Parsha has in it rifts, conflict, machloket against Moshe Rabbeinu. Behaalotkha starts the first machloket, Miriam and Aaron, the Asaf Suk, the complaint to Moshe Rabbeinu about the meat, and then we're suffering in this derech, coming up, Korach, Shlach, big time Shlach, the Meraglim against Moshe Rabbeinu, Korach against Moshe Rabbeinu, Chukat, the passing of Aaron and Moshe, and the hitting of the rock, okay, against Moshe Rabbeinu, every parsha, okay, Balak was really bad. They for sure didn't listen to Moshe Rabbeinu. They fell into the Eitzah. Those who were weak, they say it was Machane Dan people went and they were Tzamedu, the Baal Peor, because of the Moabites and everything, okay, from the tribe of Reuven and Shimon, okay? So all that was against Moshe Rabbeinu. Again, like you remember what Cosby, he brought the Cosby, what's his name? Not Cosby is the name of the lady. What's his name? The Nasi of the Shevet. What's the name of that? Zimri brought Cosby against to make Moshe Rabbeinu look bad. If you say she's forbidden, this lady, who allowed you to marry Tzipporah, who's also a Midianite, the daughter of Yitro, who allowed you, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu nistemu. It says that everybody started crying because Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know how to answer, and Pinchas had to come. Every parsha until Ben HaMitzarim is machloket against the tzaddik. Huh? Yeah, but the parsha as they're organized in the year, from after Shavuot until Ben HaMitzarim, it's all rifts. In the world, it's like vacation time. But in the Frum perspective, it's vacation time because everything is wobbled. Everything is mumbled with Emunah the Tzaddik. And it's these times that you have to work more on Emunah the Tzaddik. I have a nice chiddush, this is my chiddush, okay? Winter time and summertime. Winter time is more your avodah. For example, in the yeshiva world, there's Zman Elu, Tishrei, you're busy Chagim. When does the yeshiva world start pounding it in? Cheshvan, right after the Chagim, okay, it's a new Zman. The time that you have energy to do is in the winter. Rabbeinu himself hints this in Sichot Haran, Rabbi Nachman's wisdom. He says, Ikra avodah shel isha Yisraeli b'choref hu lakum chatzot. He says the main avodah of a Jewish man in the winter is to get up chatzot. But he says it's as if it's going to read it also is b'choref. The main time you feel that you can do and do and do is in the winter. The Gemara says that in the winter, the bones of a lion are stronger. Okay, the bones of a lion to devour are stronger in the winter, which is a hint to every Jew, Yitgaber Ka'ari. First halach on Shulchan Aruch, you have to be strong like an Ari. So the main time you feel this energy to try to fight and to be an Obed Hashem is in the winter months. Comes the summer, besides the scientific explanation that it's hot and everyone's out of it, oh, I don't have a brain, I'm fried, right? That's the scientific reason. The real reason is because now a person is faced to see that without the tzaddik, he can't do anything. And all these parshiot, which talk about machloket against the tzaddik, is people on their own they can't, and they feel frustrated and confused, and they let out their anger and their anguish and their frustration on the tzaddikim. So it's a big test of emunat tzaddikim in the summer months, which means that on the summer months, you are given to see, to recognize that on your own, you can't do anything. If you don't have a tzaddik in your life, you're garnished. Nachon, there's Hashem in you, but Hashem sent tzaddikim to help you, and you need them. And if now you think, I can serve Hashem, I can get up in the morning without a tzaddik, I can say a bracha without a tzaddik, I can learn Torah without a tzaddik, I can get a family together, shalom bayit without a tzaddik, I don't need the tzaddikim. So in the summer months, winter months, you feel that. You're given to feel that it's kochi v'otzim yadi, that I can do. But in the summer months comes out the reality that without the tzaddik, you're nothing. Rabbeinu hints to that in Sefer Amidot, that the people in the generation are to the tzaddik like a pen in the hand. The tzaddik is the one moving the quill. You feel you're doing. You're right. You're doing. You're like when you write, you think you give shkoyach to the pen. You don't give shkoyach to the pen. When now someone writes a whole essay by hand, okay, so you don't say shkoyach to the pen. You say, oh, what a beautiful pen, a nice Parker pen, and the ink comes out nicely. Let's give a bravo to the pen. No, you give a shkoyach to one writing. He says, Rabbeinu in Sefer Amidot, the Jewish people in the generation, they're like a pen in the hand of the tzaddik. You hear that? That means, okay, you're given to feel that you're doing, but in reality, it's the one behind who's pushing, helping you to do it. Why is that the case? Why can't it just be me and Hashem? Because the klipot that are out there, the sitra acha, the impurity out there, on your own, you can't stand a chance even a second. You can't. It's a rule. I said this maybe thousands of times because it's such a big rule. Rabbeinu says in Likutey Moharan that before Hashem gives the okay for a big tzaddik to come down to this world, you can be mistaded to serve Hashem without that tzaddik, no problem. The traditional transmission of Torah from generation to generation, shkoyach. That's how it was throughout the Galut, since Choban Habayit, okay. But once Hashem sends big nishamas, like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he gives an example, the Arya Kadosh, the Baal Shem Tov, and in our case, Rabbi Nachman. So along with that level of Kedusha, for the sake of free will, comes down to the world such a darkness, such a tuma, that it's impossible to counter it without the help of those tzaddikim. You need them. There will be people who are misnagdim every generation. That's how it always is. But realize the koach that you'll need to make it in life has to be to these tzaddikim. That's it. Once Hashem allows them into the world, you won't be able to stand after the choshech. There's such a tuma. Look what happened in history. Okay, with the Arizal, there was the Spanish Inquisition. Okay, with the Baal Shem Tov, there was right before Shabtai Tzvi, and then after that was the Reform movement. That's before Rabbeinu's time. There's always a tuma and a kedusha, always like together. Crazy change points in history, Jewish history, are when big tzaddikim came down to the world. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Romans, okay, the Roman Empire, the Gzerot and everything. That was Rabbi Shimon's time. He was hiding in the cave 13 years. Okay, it was bad. Okay, because such a big luminary came, there was such a counterattack on Yiddishkeit, on Emunah. Okay, so the main message of these summer months is Emunah de Tzaddikim. So in our case here, I know I'm taking time to say this, it's very important. The nun backwards is like when you, in our context of lesson 24, you're trying to serve Hashem b'simcha, and now you reach high levels of now sechel, birkat sechel, and emunah, and then you get bounced back. The nun, the keter, it's on one hand the keter, shar chamishim nun, but it's also a nefila for you. It's pushing you back. That's the only, we didn't go to this at all. I know it's coming up in paragraph 7. But this is the goal of the simcha. The goal of doing mitzvah b'simcha is to come to the perception of the keter, which is the Or Ein Sof. But the key to that is that you're bounced back and you take it positively. How could you take it positively? If you are a determined Talmud, like Yeshua bin Nun, like the Ben Ish Chai says, you're a Nun, you're a son of a Nun. The son of a Nun, not just fish. Nun is fish. That's the Midrash says that. But Nun is also Yeshua bin Nun, that he was able to bend himself with absolute emunah in the tzaddik and accept the nefilah of the Nun of the Keter in a positive way. So it didn't make him budge. We see that Parshat Shlach. Who didn't fall? Yeshua bin Nun. Kalev also. Kalev needed extra zchut. This week's Parshat Shlach. He had to go daven by Kibret Tzadikim to help him. Moshe Rabbeinu gave him a letter. Hoshea, Vaikra, Moshe leHoshea ben Nun. Yehoshua, he gave him the Yud of Yud K. That's big time. How did Moshe Yehoshua zoche that Moshe gives him the Yud from Hashem's name? That's crazy. You just think about it, okay? It's not like, okay, we'll change Hoshea to Yehoshua. It's not that. It says that the Ka Yoshiacha, Rashi says, why is he called Yehoshua? Because in Yehoshua, the first two letters is Yud K, which means what? That Moshe took the Yud from Hashem's name. Can you hear this? He took the Yud from Hashem's name and put it in Yehoshua. So Yehoshua has a big, big boost. He has the Yud from Hashem's name. What did he do to deserve that? While still being Hoshea, okay, while he's still Hoshea, like Rashi says in the end of the Chumash, we find towards in the Chumash that the Torah calls Yeshua again Hoshea. You have the parsha, I think it's in Vizot HaBracha, that he's called again Hoshea. And Rashi says, why is he called Hoshea if already his name is Yoshua? Lahagid shelo hizach dato. He didn't become a Balgaivenik. That now that he's now the future manhig, that he still maintained being a Talmid of Moshe Rabbeinu. Even though he's Yoshua, he still was able to be under Moshe Rabbeinu, even after Moshe Rabbeinu's passing. That's why the Torah hints to it and calling him again Hoshea, to show you the greatness of Yoshua, okay? So Yoshua bin Nun, meaning for us, when you are a Talmid of a Tzaddik, what does it mean you're a Talmid of the Tzaddik? You listen to what the Tzaddik says point blank. You don't say, oh, but what's happening to me? No, the Tzaddik told me that this is the reality, then this is the reality. I believe in this. He says you're going to be bounced back, you're going to have downs, you have to take them positively. Who's telling you this? The Tzaddikim. Who's able to accept that as the reality? A Yeshua Talmid, a student. So the Nun bouncing back, those holding on, that's the test. Yehoshua then was Zocher, for sure, to be the Keter. He reached the level of being a Mandik from Yisrael. He brought the Yidden to Eretz Yisrael. Fine. But for us, the lesson is, in all these parshiot, there's machloket against Moshe Rabbeinu, which is reflecting the frustration and the downs of the Yidden, that they can't handle being so far from Hashem. They can't handle. What would convince the Jews in Korach's time? What would convince the Jews of the Lashon Hara of the spies? If not, that the Yidden already had something bothering them inside already. What is that? That's in the Parsha right before V'nucho Yomar. You want to see in the Chumash? Maybe it's better. Can you bring the Chumash? You can see it inside. So you see what's happening. When you see how Rashi shows that they ran, the whole problem of the Yidden is that they showed, okay, I don't need any more Torah. I'm full. Okay, that pigam of what's before the first noon is what causes all the other pigamim. That a Jew gets exhausted of Torah. How can a Jew get exhausted of Torah? There's one thing to say, I need a break. Okay, every day you have a break. You have a time to sleep. You have in between Seder Rishon, Seder Sheni, you have a time to break. But that the Yidden were like a year minus 10 days at Har Sinai, and then they run. What are you running for? This is Gan Eden. You have Gan Eden. But I want to see the world. What is causing a Yid, that he feels an exhaustion of the Torah? What could it be? Okay, let's just look back. Look back in Parshat Behaalotkha. Okay, after all the Degalim, we'll get to the noon here. Vayimin Saharon. The parsha right before is that it's a few things here. ויאמר משה לחובב בן ראואל המדיני חותן משה נוסעים אנחנו אל המקום אשר אמר השם איתו אתן לכם לך איתנו והיטבנו לך. It's talking about Yitro, by the way. It's crazy. כי השם דיבר טוב על ישראל. The parsha right before that. Sorry, no, this is the parsha. Yeah, let's read it. אתן לכם לך איתנו. Moshe is telling Yitro, come with us. We're going. כי השם דיבר טוב על ישראל. ויאמר אליו לא אלך כי מארצי ומולדתי אלך. ויאמר אל נא תעזוב אותנו. Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Yitro, don't, please leave us. Okay? There's a question here. Why is he pleading with him not to leave? What's so bad if Yitro goes back? What's so bad that Moshe says Alma? You know, Rashi says on the spot. So people shouldn't say, you see, Yitro, he doesn't chilul Hashem. He converted thinking that he'll get a portion of Eretz Yisrael. And now he sees that he's not accepted totally. So he left. He went back, right? That's what Rashi says. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is concerned. It shouldn't be a chilul Hashem to prevent future gerim. They say, anyways, I'm never going to be considered full-fledged Yid. So anyways, why should I convert? Why should I kill myself to convert if I always be called a ger? That's what Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to happen if Yitro goes back. Yitro did go back still, okay? It said, so it's in the same parsha. So that's finished with Yitro. Yitro didn't listen, he went back. So it says, Vayisu me'ar Hashem. The Gemara points out on the wording that they left fast. The pigam here is very deep. What's the pigam? You're learning Torah all day, so what's the problem? Why are they punished for wanting to leave, and why did they leave so fast? How could a person want to leave so fast? It has to do with the idea of patience. What was the thing of the Yidden? They knew that the purpose of the Torah is in order to fulfill it in Eretz Yisrael. The Jews are impatient. They don't have savlanut. That's why they want to rush. They said this is a preparatory. Har Sinai, the year minus 10 days, is preparation for Eretz Yisrael. And there we'll fulfill the Torah like we're supposed to. Eretz Yisrael is the place of the Keter, of all the high levels that Rabbi Nachman speaks about. Simcha, the main place of Simcha, is in Eretz Yisrael. That's what the korbanot are. That's what the simcha, Torah is simcha, the korbanot is simcha. V'sarait v'samachta v'samechenu. The psukim that we say in the Musaf of the Yom Tov, you know, v'nismach. All the psukim that we will be happy and rejoice. The rejoicing is in Yerushalayim. The Jews were impatient. They were rushing because they had a good cause. They want to go to Eretz Yisrael. What does that mean? That a Jew doesn't have patience. This is the crash for everything else. In your life, you can trace every time a person fell into his taivus, into become a brit or achila and everything, he can trace it to what happened before. If you do a cheshbon nefesh and you look at your day and you look at your life and you see where you fell, you see right before you fell, you were impatient. You weren't able to take breaks. In other words, you can't wait for the right time to come. No, I want it now. I want it now. I want it now. And society, unfortunately, with technology, is just helping to encourage people to be more impatient. The computer has to work faster than you. And no, I can't wait. No, I'm stuck on my computer, right? Because you're used to things going so fast. I press a button. Society in the world is encouraging people to be more impatient. And when you're impatient, you have a shvirat hakelim, you crash. That's what led to the other crashes. Okay? Now, Vayiben Soaron with the Nuns switched behind, which refers to the good Talmidim, who even though they crash, they have downs. No one doesn't have a down. They crash, but they get up. They get up afterwards. Like we said, the Breslau drink is 7-Up. Sheva Ipot Tzadik, Vakam, 7-Up. Most people, when they crash, they have a sense of Yush. That's it. I'm finished, okay? A Talmid won't have that Yush. Where is the Yush reflected in the Torah? In what's after the noon. In the complaints of the Asaf Suf, that's a reflection of their Yush. Korach, Shlach Lecha, the Maglim. The only way the Jews have an opening to open their mouth, to have the chutzpah, the audacity to speak against Moshe Rabbeinu, is if only they're miyuash already inside. Okay? The Yush comes from what? The crash before, that they were quick, even for Kedusha. I want to advance. I want you. Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Nosson say this a lot of time. Your secret to advancing in life is you have to know when to advance, to be a baki beratzo, a baki, an expert to know when to advance, and baki b'shov, and know when to wait and to hold on and wait for the green light. It'll take 5 years, 10 years. I'm waiting. I don't care. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to force the situation. I'm not going to force. You have people for divorces, for example. The person, I can't handle it anymore. I want a divorce right now. I'm just saying how people think. The reason why, and then they make a fatal mistake and they feel bad and they regret it. Because they're not patient. You gotta wait. But I'm burning. Wait. They gave you the kalim to hold on. It's all in the head. Wait, savlanut, wait. Rav Nosson says this, most 99% of the crashes in life is because of a lack of patience. That's what the noon of Ibn Sor comes. This is the noon of the Keter. The noon of the Keter to let you build kalim to receive the Orient Sof, okay, is a patience thing. It's a waiting thing. What Rabbeinu teaches us in lesson 24 is that the key to have savlanut is if you work on simcha. That's the key. If you're someone who's always working on doing mitzvot b'simcha and everything, the simcha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tefillah. What you do afterwards in life when you advance and then you crash, and we see how you act when you crash, that shows us how you were in the beginning. If your beginning was b'simcha, with honesty and sincerity and tmimut and pshitut, okay, so then when the crash happens and you're bounced back by the noon, you have the noon switching its face towards you, bouncing you back. It's a nefila, but it's really from the keter to help you to advance. If you take it positively, which means you crash, but you continue, you get up again, okay? So that shows that your beginning was good, that you are honest, you're sincere, you're a person who's happy. A person who's sameach with himself, believes in his goodness, who's happy, comes out when the crash happens. Sof maaseh, machshava tchila, okay? And Rav Nosson says that's the pasuk. Just we're connecting keter to simcha. V'simchat olam al rosham. Al rosham is the keter. When you have simcha of olam, what does it mean simchat olam? It's not simcha of olam haba, simchat olam of this world, which means of all the not shlemut, lack of shlemut in this world, I'm still happy. My tefillin, like I said, the tefillin 9 in the morning, the tefillin 10 in the morning, tefillin 11 in the morning, I'm still happy. I say, oh, I didn't get up nets, so everything is black, everything's Tisha B'Av. No, I'm happy. Simchat olam, I'm happy with how I'm doing mitzvah in this world. Al Rosham, you get to the keter. That's hinted again in the noon, okay? That's the idea hinted. That was clear, yeah? That was pretty clear. Okay. Let's now go back. Mamash. Let's go.
What's the noon backwards?
What? Because it's bouncing you back. The letter is facing from right to left. The opening of the noon is on the upcoming side, where we're going. When you write in Hebrew, it's going, in other words, advance is from right to left. So the noon open, the opening of the noon, not the back of the noon, like I don't want to talk to you. The back of the noon is like, no, we don't want you. There's no opening. The opening of the noon, there's room to come in. The advancement of the noon is on the left side of the letter, which is how you write from in Hebrew, from right to left. So noon in its positive sense, as being an opening, the shara noon, okay? That's when the regular noon. The noon backwards is like a nefila. No, we don't want you. Yeah, it's like that, because we're reading from right to left, you're sending me to a dead end, you revert the noon, okay? When it's upside down, it's even more. The dea, that's Rashi's dea, I think, that says that the noon should be turned and also standing on its leg. It's a whole thing you'll see in the Gemara that's crazy. In the poskim also, they say a Sefer Torah could be considered pasul if you write it in a different way. The Maharshal is very machmir. He says if the noon is, he's against even writing Bichlal and noon in the Sefer Torah, the Maharshal. He holds you shouldn't write a noon at all, just leave it empty so we understand. Or if you want to give that explanation of the Gemara, you take out the noon from the word from the upcoming pasuk, Vahi bin so Aaron, take the noon from bin so Aaron and remove it. It's the Maharshal. Crazy. In the poskim, they go crazy. Halacha lema'aseh today, by the Sfardim, the Ashkenazim, the majority of the world, is you take the noon regular and you just switch it like that. Okay? But Rashi brings down, you'll find some editions of a printed Chumash that they switch the noon also to its head, like Rashi said. But we don't do that. The majority of Sfarim is you keep the noon in and you switch it. Okay? Fine. So let's continue. Siv Vav. Okay? What Rabbeinu is saying here, this is also connected to what we just said now, is the secret for you not to crash is that you put emunah in your sechel. To explain, when you zocher to do a mitzvah b'simcha, and the idea of doing a mitzvah b'simcha is this is how you elevate the holiness trapped in the tumah, which reflects itself in all the feelings of negativity that you have in your life, and also you don't feel so good about the mitzvah that you do, you don't feel good about yourself. If now, b'chol zot, nonetheless, you work on doing mitzvot b'simcha, so you get to the cherry, you get the ice cream, you get the cake. What's the cake here? Is you get the mikat hasechel. You're serving to activate the bracha. And now you have to be careful. The main bracha is be smart. Don't just take bracha for a Lamborghini and a big house and Bane Chaim Zoneh. Be smart. Aim for Birkat HaSechel. Fine. I'm a good person. I do mitzvot b'simcha. I'm spiritually inclined. I want to come close to Hashem. Birkat HaSechel. Next test, but you have to be careful to put emunah, because the next test, you see, every level has its own test. Bracha, you can choose now. Is it the bracha of Gashmiut, or is it the bracha of understanding Hashem, intellect? So in that choice, you choose Birkat HaSechel. Next test, now the Birkat HaSechel is so enticing. People have a love of Torah. They have a love of intellectual. You have people who like the intellect of the Torah. What's the danger there? Is that you have to remember the goal of the intellect of the Torah is to strengthen your emunah. The emunah has to fill the sechel, and not that, it's just sechel and there's no emunah. You have to make sure you're filling it with emunah inside. That's the test. Are you going to just, the next level, are you going to just want Birkat HaSechel? You want to have Shas in your head, Poskin, Yerushalmi? How about Hashem? You want to have Hashem in your life? No, I want all the Gemara, all the pages. I want to be a computer. I want to be Otzah Chochmah. I want to have artificial intelligence in my head, everything, boom, boom, boom. I want to be like that. Where's the emunah? You missed the point. That's the test. That's the next test. If now you have simcha at every stage in life, the simcha will guide you to make the right decision. Where do you see this, by the way? In Rabbi Nachman's story of the Chacham and the Tam. The Tam, it says, Minhago haya. You know that song by Dagan? Uminhago haya. Shaya tamid besimcha. Okay? The Tam, the simpleton, was always happy. Because of his happiness, always he made the right decisions. And even when he started learning Chochmot, he was now a minister, and he had to meet the king, and he said, it's not proper that someone like you is so uneducated, so we have to educate you in languages, Latin and medicine and philosophy. So he said, what do I care? Machpatli, because he was always happy. So even though he learned philosophy, it didn't budge him. So when the king met him in the story of the Chacham Datam, the king was very impressed with his tmimut, his honesty and his straightforwardness. Then he began to test him how smart he is, and he saw that he's sholet, he knows every area of wisdom, and still he's simple and happy and emistic and straightforward. He says he's not swayed by what he knows. I need a guy like this to work close to me. I need him. He made him the minister of all the ministers, because it's such a chidush when you find somebody who knows so much, but he doesn't act based on what he knows. He acts based on simple emunah. He maintains the simple emunah. What he learned enhances his emunah. He's now even more emunah based, more tmimis and pshitut based. That's a chidush. That's what Rabbeinu is getting to us here. He says this is the secret. If now you're able to maintain, you have someone, for example, who knows the whole Shas and Poskim, but he's able to say to him like a little boy. You see him crying at the kotel like a little kid. That's unbelievable. Where's this Gaon, this big giant? I don't see him here. You don't see it because he put everything in the pocket to enhance the emunah. He knows that the goal of Torah study is this. This is the goal, okay? So Rabbeinu says, for that to happen, again, we look at your beginning. If you maintain simcha in your life at every stage, so that gives it a chance that even when you get this big bracha called Birkat HaSechel, you put an emunah into it. So now with this, you understand where Rabbeinu is bringing so many proofs. Okay, so look inside again. You have to draw faith into the blessing of the sechel, because you shouldn't rely on the sechel itself as is known. But to do that, you need to make sure that you have simcha in your life, because that's what leads you to make the right decision and the right move to make sure you put emunah in the sechel. First proof, like we said, the pasuk in Mishlei, ish emunot rav brachot, meaning there's abundant blessings coming down, and still I don't budge from emunah. I keep maintaining the emunah, and so that when the brachot are coming down, I make sure to go to eventually to have the emunah connected to it. Second proof by Moshe Rabbeinu, and we said it's fighting Amalek, that even when Moshe Rabbeinu was transmitting the message to the Jews, which is the hands, it was filled with emunah. The message Moshe Rabbeinu was telling the soldiers when they're fighting Amalek, you guys need emunah. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, V'chi yadav shel Moshe. It's a Mishnah in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. Was it the hands of Moshe Rabbeinu that the war was dependent upon, right? Or was it the snake? When they look at the snake, also when they were bitten, No, when the Jews turned their eyes up to heaven, then they won against Amalek. Okay? Vayadav emunah, his hands, which is sechel, was transmitting what to the Jews? Emunah. Rashi says that he was davening. He himself, Targum says he was davening. Prisan bitzlo, his hands were spread out in prayer. That's emunah. But in our context, he was telling the Jews, the main thing to know is to fight Amalek. You need emunah. Period. Don't start arguing with him. Don't start letting him, you're not going to make it, all these things. Don't let him even enter your brain to start talking because it won't work. You need emunah for that. That's the emunah. Ubechinat. And now this is very important. Just another detail this week. V'kama bi'adecha mamlechet Yisrael. Shaul HaMelech tells David HaMelech, I see that it will be established in your hands. Mamlechet Yisrael. Mamlechet Yisrael, Malchut, is the key for emunah. And that's the key for everything else here. The Malchut that you have will determine the bracha. If there's Malchut Yisrael, there's bracha. If there's no Malchut Yisrael, there's no bracha. Okay? Which explains the next pasuk. Hainu, Shamshich emunah letoch birkat hayadayim. In other words, I draw emunah into the blessing of the hands. That's why Shalom says beyadecha. So now with this you understand. Remember last week you said there was the stira, two mefarshim on the Likutey Moharan, and they have a difference of opinion. And one is a Rebbe and one is a Talmud. The Parpot the Chokhmah, he was the Rebbe of the Me'anacham. He says that the next pasuk here, V'zeh bechinat, from Shmuel Aleph, chapter 2, Ubaniti lo bait ne'eman, is to support the third pasuk of Shaul HaMelech to David HaMelech. And the Me'anacham says, no, it's a proof in itself. But now there's something that connects them, so both are right. Both are right. So, fourth pasuk, V'zeu bechinat ubaniti lo bait ne'eman. Elkanah tells Eli Kohen that your ancestors are going to lose the keuna. You are all descendants of Beit Itamar. You guys come from Itamar. Elazar, because of something that Pinchas did, the first Pinchas, not the son. Someone got confused in the class. He thought Chofni and Pinchas. This Pinchas is the same Pinchas as the son of Elazar. It's a separate Pinchas. There's the Pinchas ben Elazar, and there's Pinchas ben Eli. Eli comes all the way from Itamar. So it's not the same Pinchas, and it's a separate generation totally, okay? To say that they're the same Neshama, I'm not going to go into that, because the Arizal says that Chofni and Pinchas were Gilgulim again of Nadav and Avihu. They came back to fix, and only more damage was done. And Eli was the Gilgul of Aaron again, and Haran. There's a whole thing, okay? Won't go into that too much. But Elkanah told Eli, you the keuna, Hashem has sent me to tell you, the keuna is no longer going to be from your offspring. And the sign of this will be that your sons will die on the same day. Chofni and Pinchas will die on the same day. And Elkanah told Eli, when will this take place? When will Beit Eli, which is the Beit Itamar, lose the keuna gdola? When the Beit HaMikdash will finally be built by who? Shlomo, the son of David HaMelech. Okay, so the question is, why not punish him immediately? Why doesn't Elkanah say to Eli, Hashem sent me to tell you, you are losing now the Keuna Gdola. The Keuna Gdola is no longer from Itamar, it's from Elazar. Why wait until there's a Beit HaMikdash built by Shlomo, son of David HaMelech? This answers the question of the third pasuk. V'kama bi'adecha mamlechet Yisrael, the Malchut of all Israel is reflected in David. And what is David? David said about himself, what am I? Va'ani tefillah. He says, my enemies do this and this and this. And the pshat is, when the pasuk says, Va'ani tefillah, and my resort to my enemies is prayer. Rabbi Nachman says, no, it's more than that. When David HaMelech is saying, Va'ani tefillah, he's saying that he is tefillah. He is tefillah. And what's tefillah? Tefillah is emunah. Okay? So Shaul was telling him, B'kama be'adecha mamlechet Yisrael, that you are the secret of emunah and tefillah. So only once there's emunah strong, which is when the Beit HaMikdash is built. That's the Beit HaMikdash, which is the Beit Tefillah, Ki Beiti Beit Tefillah Yikare Lechol Amim, the house of prayer. Only then will there be real energy transferred to the hands of the Kohanim. Chofni and Pinchas, who are Kohanim, blemished the Birkat Kohanim by them cheating on that. We went into this last week in chapter 2 of Shmuel Aleph. The whole pgam of Chofni and Pinchas is they weren't just taking what they were supposed to give in. It says that the Kohen gets the shok, the chazeh, the parts of the animals. The Torah says what they get. Truma, okay, there's parts. The Levi gives Trumat Maaser. That's it. Or the 48 Matanot Kehuna that are listed in Parshat Koach coming up. That's it. No, we want to take also whatever piece of meat we want. They would stick a big fork while the meat was being cooked of the Korban Shlamim or Chatat, whatever it was. They have their students cutting, taking more pieces. What are you doing? The Kohen, what are you doing? Says, no, if you don't let us, then we won't let the Korban be finished. We're stopping. We have the right, because this is from their Kohen Gadol. Eli was the Kohen Gadol. He couldn't do anything. He was old. He was over 80, over 90. So who was his place? The Sgan. The Sgan Kohen was his son, Hofni and Pinchas. They would alternate, and they would give these bad orders: take more meat. While they're cooking the meat, they said, "Give me the meat already before it's cooked. My part, because I want to eat. We'll cook it ourselves." Say, wait, halacha is you have to wait till it's cooked. They said, no. Again, lo savlanut, no patience. And the opposite, when they're supposed to do things properly, the kinim of the woman, or we said this last week, the kinim of the woman were waiting to go back to be with their husbands. They had to bring, when a woman gave birth, she was impure. If it was a girl, 66 days. If it's a boy, 33 days. They come to the Beit HaMikdash, they bring a korban, and after that, they go back home and they can be with their husbands. So they were delaying. The women were waiting for they didn't leave until they saw the korban being offered, and then they would go home. So they were waiting and waiting. Chofni and Pinchas were taking their time, telling the kohanim under them, it's okay, let's wait. You're waiting in the wrong area, man. It's the wrong place. Here you have to do fast, and there you have to wait. They were switching everything. So there was a pgam in the kohanim, meaning the bracha they gave also was blemished. Birkat kohanim, by the way, is dependent on the people being blessed. In other words, the kohen, in halacha says, the kohen who has a grudge against anybody in the kehillah of the shul, he's not allowed to do birkat kohanim. He has to be at ease with the kahal. That means what? That they're koveh. We don't say the kohen gives the bracha, even if he doesn't like anybody, he gives the bracha and it works. No, we don't say that. If the kohen has something against somebody in the kahal, his bracha doesn't work. What does that tell you? That tells you that the kahal determine the bracha coming down. The emuna and the kahal give the force of the kohen to give his bracha. The kohen's bracha is commensurate to how much you believe in the bracha. You're receiving birkat kohanim, if it's every morning or the chagim, is determined how much you believe in it. If you believe that this is shefa coming down, so you activate more and more bracha, okay? Fine. They weren't worthy of that. So now, so he's saying, we're now going to take away the keuna from you, and it's going to go back to Tzadok, who's, I think, the son of Eviatar, who's descended from Elazar, and it's taken away from the house of Itamar. It goes back to Elazar. When will this take place? Once the Beit HaMikdash. Why? Because Beit HaMikdash is kriya v'kayama. With that said, we're going to understand the next pasuk. Okay? So I went into this a lot last week. That's why I'm not going over all the details. Ubaniti lo bayit ne'eman. We went into bayit and ne'eman. Here it connects emunah to the kohanim. That's the chidush here. The Rabbeinu is showing you that the bracha is in the hands. The hands of who? He saw. He said earlier. Vayisa Aaron et yadav el ha'am in paragraph 4. He says the bracha is hinted in the hands from this pasuk. Vayisa Aaron et yadav el ha'am vaybarachem. Okay, fine. So Banitilo. So now he wants to show Rabbeinu that also the Kohen's hands needs emunah. Emunah basically is savlanut. It's another word for patience. When a person has patience, what does it show that he has? He has emunah. That's the whole thing here. That the Jews ran, this week's Parsha, that they ran from Har Sinai. And okay, they ran. It's a lack of emunah. Even though you would think, but they were doing it for Kedusha. They want to advance. They want to come to Eretz Yisrael. Wait. You can't wait. That shows that you have a pagam in emunah. If Hashem's telling you to wait, Hashem is the one who tells you that Eretz Yisrael is the big thing. Okay. So now Hashem afterwards pushes you to wait for Eretz Yisrael. So you keep on fighting against Hashem. I'm just talking in the perspective of the Jews. They left Har Sinai to go to Yisrael. Hashem is also pushing you back, telling you to wait. Why are you running? He's telling you slowly, take it easy. You're running to go super fast. Why are you running? You have people like that in their day. There's some people that they're so organized. Their day from the time they get up till they go to sleep is every second is measured. You have people like that, stopwatch. They have a schedule, okay? They're on their everything. Okay, from 10 to this, and then everything is scheduled, okay? And even though everything is scheduled, they're still in a rush. They're still like hyperactive, and they're running. What's going on, man? You organize your day. You know what you have to do. Why are you in such a rush? Why can't you take it easy? That's the pagam. There's no patience. It's a reflection that there's a pagam in emunah. They can start saying it's a mental issue. It's a psychological issue that he has, impatience and hyperactivity. But 1 second, let's go deeper. Where's it coming from? There's something in the emunah that's not in the right place. Fix the emunah. There's an amazing story of the Frierdiker Rebbe of Chabad, not the last one, his father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, right? That there was a time that he was waiting for a train to pick him up. Okay, most people, when you have a train, and you have to leave, so most people they're unsettled. When you have to get on a train, so you already take extra time beforehand to get ready and everything. And what's the attitude of people? Okay, well, you're looking at the bus, looking at your watch, look at the bus. The bus is here. Look at the train is here. Most people they're impatient. He was unbelievable. They said the lift to pick you up, take to the train station will be coming in 10 minutes. So normal people they're in a rush. He was settled, and he was learning. He was learning, but with calmness, with Yishuv until they said, okay, the light is here, calmly close the book, and he would go in. Most people, they don't like that. They start getting nervous because they're taken out of their daily schedule. You're doing something which is unusual. Their moral attitude is, okay, you don't have to, I don't have a head right now to learn right now. I can't. He was able to learn right before with Yishuv that's unbelievable. That's a sign of amazing emunah, okay? Fine. Vezeu bechinat ubaniti lo bait ne'eman. Fine, we went into that, the house of faith. Vezeh bechinat emunatcha bikal kedoshim. Whoa. Kodesh ze bechinat mochi. Okay? So Rabbeinu now introduced a new level. Everything we said until now, this is the concept of this pasuk from Tehillim, chapter 89. What is Tehillim chapter 89? Let's look inside. Tehillim chapter 89 starts like this. Okay, Maskil le'eitan ha'ezrachi. This is a song of Maskil written by Eitan ha'ezrachi, one of the prophets. He's called Eitan because he was solid. And what did he say? He was saying something which is solid. The whole chapter of Tehillim talks about, just like the Chesed of Hashem is always, so too the Malchut of Beit David will be always. Even though we're in exile, when Mashiach comes and the temple is rebuilt, who will the Malchut be restored to? Beit David. Beit David didn't lose it. You would think, okay, David's dynasty, and they had it. They had it in Beit Rishon, they had it in Beit Sheni. Let a new rule take place. No. After this big hafsaka, this big break of this galut, this fourth exile that we're in under Edom for already a few thousand years, and then Mashiach will come back. Mashiach is called Ben David. The kingdom will restore to who? To Beit David. So the whole psalm is telling this point that even though there's a break, just like Hashem is always there, and His Chesed is always there, and the Emunah is always there, so too David HaMelech's dynasty will always be there, because David HaMelech represents what? Tefillah, Emunah, and that's something which is solid, it's eternal, it's the key for everything else. So the psalm begins like this, okay? Maskil eitan ezrachi, chasdei Hashem olam ashira, ledor vador odi emunatcha befi. I say, the kindness of Hashem, I will always sing, for generation to generation, I will make known His emunah and Hashem with my mouth. I will make known with my mouth Hashem's emunah. Ki amarti olam chesed yibaneh, because I said a world will be built of chesed. Chesed and emunah are traits that are always here. Shamayim tachin emunatcha bahem, and the heavens will establish faith in them, in the heavens and in the earth. Karati brit livcheri, and he says, so too, I Hashem made an oath to the one who's chosen by me. Nishbati leDavid avdi. What does it have to do with what it said before? And to show you, just like the heaven and the emunah and the chesed is consistent and always there, and everything is based on that, so too Hashem, and I made an oath with the one I chosen. I swore to David, my servant, Ad olam achin zarecha, forever I will establish your offspring. Always the kingdom of David, the Davidic dynasty will be in charge. Ubaniti ledor vador kis achasela. I will build from generation to generation, no matter what they go through, even in exile, when nothing's happening, your chair, Kiseh David, will always be fixed and set and waiting to just go back into action when Mashiach comes. V'yodu shamayim pilacha. Here's a pasuk now. V'yodu shamayim pilacha Hashem, and the heavens will, yodu means two things. means to admit, to confess, to admit that this is right. It also means to give thanks. The heavens will give thanks or admit to Pil'acha Hashem. What's Pele? We didn't go into this at all. But Pele is another term for the Keter. Okay, Pil'acha Hashem, the Pele. Pil'acha Hashem, the Pele of Hashem, the Shamayim will admit to it. Emunatcha, but on condition, how do you get to the Pele, which is the Keter? This I'm just explaining in the context of how we interpret it. Emunatcha bikal kedoshim. When there's emunah in the kal kedoshim, in the assembly of the holy ones. What is the assembly of the holy ones? What's kodesh? Okay, there's a lot to say on this. I don't know how much we're going to do here. Let's just take a look here. Emunatcha. See the full verse is v'yodu shamayim pil'acha Hashem af emunatcha bikal kedoshim. Rabbeinu just quotes the last three words of the pasuk. Emunatcha, your faith is in the assembly of the holy ones. The Zohar says, and the Shlach Kadosh goes into this. What are the holy ones? Chochma ubina. Rabbeinu says, Kodesh ze bechinat mochin. In the terminology of the Kabbalah, mochin is kedusha. What is kedusha and what is tahara? We always hear kedusha and tahara. Normally, you hear first kedusha and then you hear tahara. Where's the one place that you see it switched? In the Yiratzon after Sfirat Omer, Tetaharenu Kadeshenu B'Kedushatcha Aliyona Amen Selah. We say first Taharenu and then Kadeshenu. Normal procedure is Kedusha and Tahara. What's Kedusha and what's Tahara? The one who explains this, believe it or not, is the Arizal. Priyatz Chaim. The Arizal says like this: that Kedusha is Shefa that comes down from Chochma, which is Chesed. Chochma, Chesed. Again, the map so you can see clearly. Okay, you have the right line. This is right here. You have the left line and you have the middle line. The right line is Chesed. It's even though Chesed is in the middle, it's considered the right side is always Chesed. So Chochma, Chesed, and Netzach are considered all Chesed attitudes, which is giving mode. They're all giving. Chochma gives the Chesed. Okay, it's giving. It's giving a lot of shefa. Now, the Gvura is the opposite side. Bina, Gvura, Hod. Bina gives to Gvura, gives to Hod, but it gives with a closed hand, with limitation. It's giving just what's needed and nothing more. Okay, so Bina gives to Gvura the attitude of giving, but you have to deserve it, and it goes just the minimum, barest minimum. Okay, so now Kedusha, the Arizal says, comes from Chochma, Chesed, Netzach is Kedusha, and Tahara, which is also an attribute that you're receiving technically, to have purity. To have Tahara is on the left side. What's the difference? So Kedusha it's just coming down from above. Kedusha is an input. It's a divinely shefa that's coming down. Tahara is, you have to, what's called the taher. You have to clean the shetach. You have to be fit for the shefa to come down. You have to clean first. The taher means I have to take, like, you have a field that has all types of bushes and things growing. You have to take a rake, cut all the weeds, all the excess, in order for it to be a proper platform for bracha to come down. I got to cut off the weeds and everything. That's tahara. Tahara means that shefa comes down by you eliminating the bad. Kedusha comes down, boom. It comes down, even if you didn't fix anything, Kedusha comes down. It's like, we don't need you to clean the shetach, because in what's coming down will be the ability to clean anyways. But the Tahara says, no, it only comes down if you prepare something. You have to do something first for the bounty to come down. It'll come down, but we need you to make your input. Kedusha is like, it comes down. Like, for example, Ruach HaKodesh, Lashon HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh, Rabbeinu says, it's a Ruach that comes from Kedusha. It's a spirit, a wind, a prophecy. And when it comes to the prophet, it comes like heavy. That's why he can't stand. He has to. He can't receive the nevuah while standing. He has to be shaken or moved a little. It comes to him that he's not in his regular mentality. He's like shaken for the ruach of kedusha to come in, because it comes with so much, and then he has to settle it. He has to organize it. It comes down though with bracha and shefa. That's kedusha. Okay, tahara Now you have to clean it. Sfat Omer, we do that. Sfat Omer, it's all based on you. So that's why in the Yirat Son of Sfat Omer, we say Ta'arenu v'kadeshenu. Okay? Because now they're waiting for you to do what's called Itaruta Diltata. You have to make an arousal from below. So that's Ta'arenu, okay? Kedusha, as it comes down, boom. Okay? So in life, when they want to wake up a person from above, so they send him a boost of Kedusha to wake him up. Okay? Tahara is a harder stage, where after he's been exposed to Kedusha, so then he's expected to do the follow-up and do Tahara. So we say Kedusha v'Tahara, the initial stage coming from above is called Kedusha. It comes down, boom. Okay? But then Tahara is the follow-up. You want the follow-up? Okay, now we're expecting you to clean up. That's Tahara. Kedusha v'Tahara. So now, because Bina, Tahara, ultimately receives from Chokhmah, which is Kedusha. So the Mochin, he says here, what he's saying here? The Mochin, the mentalities. Mentalities is the understanding of Chokhmah and the wisdom, the understanding of Bina. Chokhmah is raw input. Boom, it comes to you. Bina starts organizing it. It makes restrictions, it makes limitations. It's not really like this. When they made this statement, it really means like this, and that. Bina just makes more of a qualification and a tzimtzum. It makes things qualified, okay? But Bina is receiving from Chokhmah. So Rabbeinu says here, okay, he says, Kodesh ze bechinat mochi. Rabbeinu is saying here that even when you have Kodesh, the mentality, even when Hashem is good to you and is giving you birkat sechel, you still need emunah. Emunah will be even there. Emunah, you know the height of what you can reach in this world, which is kedusha. Kedusha is considered the highest level. That's called chokhmah. Okay, even then, emunatcha bikal kedoshim. You need emunah for the assembly. What's the assembly? Because it's plural. Chokhmah and bina is a kedusha v'tara. For the whole picture, which is kal kedoshim, you're going to need emunah, which means to do something with the chokhmah, the intellect they give you in life. Even there, you're going to need emunah, because the pasuk says, "Emunatcha bikal kedoshim." I've come to kedusha, which is the mochin. I've reached a high level. Even there, the pasuk is telling us, "Emunatcha bikal kedoshim." This, by the way, is taken from chapter 89, which is about David HaMelech, and it relates to David HaMelech, because David HaMelech, his greatness was this. That as great as he was a king. A melech is technically on top, but at the same time he's on the bottom. What is malchut in the Kabbalah? Just quickly. Malchut is on the bottom, okay? But there's 4 of these. This is one world. There's 4 worlds. This is like every world has 10 sfirot. There's the world of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, Asya. 4 worlds with 4 dimensions. When it's a little, we'll have to go so much into it now. But each world has this makeup. Malchut of a higher world is the Keter of the lower world. So you see Keter is on top. Keter is really the Malchut from the previous section. There's another section like this where Malchut is put like this, like Lego. You take this out. If this is Lego right now, I take it out and I put the Malchut on the Keter of the upper world over here. So Malchut is really Keter, because you can't be a Melech without a crown. Malchut is Melech. Keter is crown, right? So what's the Chidush here? It's the greatness of Malchut, that Malchut Beit David, that even though he perceived the Keter, he always perceived himself as being nothing. He was always Emunah, Vani Tfilah. Only Emunah. His whole thing is Emunah. That's his secret of Atzlacha. I think we spoke about this once, that David HaMelech wasn't like a regular king. You know, he's walking down and everyone's like shaking. He saw a broken Jew, he would hug him, say, my brother, Achi Chazak. He was a king who was able to relate to everybody. That was the greatness of David HaMelech. That's the greatness of Mashiach, B'ezrat Hashem. Mashiach ben David, he has his qualities, and that as great as he is, he's Zorem, he's going with the flow of everybody, he's able to relate to other people. So on one hand, he's Keter, but at the same time, he's Malchut. Okay? So, Af emunatcha bikal kedoshim, you reach the mentalities, which is under Keter, Mochin, the mentalities is in Keter, and still emunatcha bikal kedoshim. And what then the pasuk is already talking about, this pasuk from chapter verse 89, after Eitana Ezrachi spoke about how it's going to be forever Malchut B'David. So that's the this pasuk, karati, breathe. This is first pasuk, aleph, bet, gimel, pasuk number 3. Karat, that's when Eitan starts talking about David HaMelech. Karati brit lidchiri nishbati leDavid Avdi. That's pasuk number 3. Second pasuk 4. Ad olam achin zarecha baniti ledor vador kisach sela. So he's talking about David HaMelech already, right? And then after that he switches into a general terminology. V'yodu shamayim pilacha Hashem, af emunatcha bikal kedoshim. He's hinting here to the Malchut of David that emunatcha bikal kedoshim, that this emuna, which is representing David HaMelech's kingship, which is no matter how high you go, always emuna is on top of you. As much as you're a keter, this is important because this is coming up for the final thing, that next class, next week. As much as you're a keter, you're still malchut. You're still in the bottom. Malchut is in the bottom. Malchut is in the bottom. But 1 second, you just got to keter. No, but keter, I'm connected now to malchut. I'm still on the bottom. Even though I reach keter, which is the top, it's the beginning of the bottom of the next stage up. I'm on the bottom now. I'm on the bottom. That's Emunah. Bottom of the new world, the upper world, the higher world. The keter of the lower world becomes the malchut of the higher world. It's the same thing. It's two opposites in one. It's crazy. Keter is an accomplishment. Keter, it's a crown, Mechora. And malchut is, it only gives what it receives from above. Malchut is the transmission of everything from above comes out in malchut. Okay, we have to develop this more. I think we'll do this in the next class. We went so long. I think we went far. Okay, we'll stop here. Bezat Hashem, to be continued. Shkoyach for joining. Okay, this 1 second. Yeah, okay.